All right. Welcome back to Clicks and Bricks. This
Welcome.
is our
Sixth
episode. So 6 weeks in. We've
Whoop.
committed to 100 weeks. So this is still baby steps that we're on. My name is Ken. This is Brian. If you'd like to text me and get in my community, 314-370-2871, and you'll get weekly little updates from me, motivational stuff and things like that. It's a whole lot of fun. Check it out.
Please do. Please do.
What's the topic today, Brian?
Today's topic is how-tos on WordPress websites. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yes. I live and breathe inside WordPress.
Absolutely. As do I now. And this is not going to be the only time we do this episode. This can literally go on forever. So
Yes, and I assume it probably might touch some of the topics that we've talked about in the past, or might talk about
yes,
specifically in the future.
with some of the questions, I looked at them already. And yes, some of them we've already kind of talked about, so we'll kind of just rehash it a little bit.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's some of these are current clients, some of them are just, all over the place. If I put out a little post asking people to, let's talk, let me know how I can help you.
Right.
But before we dive into our topic today, we have to do our Between the Cubicles, man.
Okay, yes. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the Mayweather and Logan Paul?
Logan Paul. He's the one fighting.
He's the one that got called out, and it's really horrible. I would really rather see, I'm a heavyweight, so I don't really follow the weight class that much, but I would really rather see Mayweather fight a Ryan Garcia or even a Devin Alexander, world champions.
Oh, I would love to see him fight Devin. I mean, a hometown favorite guy?
Yeah,
come on, dude. That'd be
and
awesome.
we've got this, and not that I would get in the ring with any of those guys, right? But to me, Mayweather and Logan is like if Ken Cox were to call out Mike Tyson, which, right? I mean, I've got a 1-1 amateur fight. Logan's got an 0-1.
But did you just call out Mike Tyson?
I would absolutely get in the ring with Mike Tyson. I would love it. It would be the highlight. It would be one of the highlights of my life, I bet. So that's kind of where I feel like it would be, right? I mean, Logan's in the boxing arena. Yeah, he's a YouTube star, but his pro career is 0-1, and you got Mayweather, who's one of the greatest fighters of all time.
He hasn't lost, man.
He's got 50 wins. He's a different fighter, right? His style is a little different. He's way defensive. He stays away. He doesn't get hit.
Which is incredible. I mean, 50 fights and not really getting hit.
Dude's slick, man. I mean,
it's like he got baby oil on him, man. People can't touch him.
He's a slick fighter, right? He's fast. He knows what he's doing. He's got that shoulder roll thing going on. Everything about Mayweather is
incredible.
Money.
It's incredible, man.
I mean, he's not Money Mayweather for no reason, right? So, and not that Logan is a joke, right? Logan is.
He's 25. He's got 2 fights.
Does he have? He's got 1 pro fight.
I
read that he's 0-1, right?
Okay, I thought it was 1. I'm thinking about the brother. The brother's 1-1.
The brothers, yeah, the guy that just fought Nate last week, and I just don't. They don't have the experience, so I don't know what Mayweather has to gain out of this fight. Because he's going into this fight, and a fight's a fight, man. It's anybody's game.
It is.
This.
It's a pretty big deal, man.
I mean, he's a fast fighter. He stays on his feet. He doesn't get hit a lot. But if Logan connects, Logan's a big boy, right? He could take. I mean,
if he catches him,
he could steal a 0, man, and that would be horrible for me. Whether to go against an 0-1 guy and catch a haymaker or a good uppercut and lose this fight, it would just
right.
I just don't see the upside for Mayweather in this match.
I definitely don't see the upside, and I don't even know why he even did it. Besides the fact that it's a quick money grab, because
But I just saw him on Cold as Balls the other day with Kevin Hart.
Yeah,
and he's like, dude, I got enough money to buy anything I want every single month of my life.
But I think he's like Gary Vee in the sense that he likes getting the money, man. Like that turns him up, dude. It fills his cup.
But then he needs to fight a Garcia, or he needs to fight.
But Garcia's not.
Alexander.
But these guys are popping right now, right? These brothers that decided to stop being YouTube and fight are popping. Like, people are going crazy online talking about them, man. Like, they're calling Jake one of the best boxers ever because he beat Nate Robinson. He's not even a boxer.
Yeah,
right? But
let's face it, Nate Robinson, it was a joke. he shouldn't have been in the. He should not have been in the ring.
He was not ready to fight, man.
No.
At the end of the day.
So Paul did a good job in that fight and keeping his exposure and doing what he needed to do.
Composure.
Yeah, but an amateur fighter would have beat him. Like, there's just no doubt about it. So, I don't know. I feel like Mayweather boxes for money.
Yes.
I box because I have no other choice. Right? It's just in me. I love it. I absolutely love it.
I do. I enjoy it.
I love getting, hanging out with my buddies and hitting each other in the face. It's a lot of fun. So, but I just don't understand why Mayweather would take this fight, because if he wins, oh well, he beat a guy that had an 0-1 record.
It's not a big.
But if he loses, it's devastating to his career. Absolutely devastating. So I just don't understand what's going through his mind. If he were to go against a more experienced fighter, then it would make sense to me. But we live in 2021. Or 2020. We're going to be in 2021 right around the corner. I mean, and if we live in a world where YouTube guys or podcasters can call out fighters and get pro fights,
we live in a world where kids don't go to school now.
Yeah. What the hell?
Right.
Yeah. So,
how many pandemics we lived through, and I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop it right there.
Right. So that's my take on this Mayweather and Paul fight. And I'll pay the pay-per-view. I'll watch it.
I'll watch it.
So,
I'll watch it. I agree with you. I don't think there's really much for Mayweather to win. I honestly just think that. I guess there's a part of me that thinks that Mayweather wants to shut up all the people saying that these guys are just like the best boxers ever.
Yeah, because Mayweather,
I feel that. I
don't put Mayweather in the top in the greatest boxers of all times, but I probably should.
He's a good freaking boxer, dude. Like,
and
he hasn't lost 50 matches, 21 years, man. That's a long time to be fighting
and not lose.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's incredible. So.
Right. And I think every man should have to walk out of a ring with a loss at some point, right? It's humbling.
It definitely is humbling.
Yeah, I mean, it'll make you.
I mean, I've lost some fights in my time frame, but I've won more than I've lost.
Yeah.
But the ones I lost, I definitely ate some humble pie.
Some
humble pie.
All right. So moving on, this is not a boxing podcast at all, but talking about promotions and how to get clicks. I think that this is a fight to get clicks. This is a fight to get pay-per-view. Yeah. And people to dump their money into.
It's a money grab, man.
Yeah.
That's Mayweather right there, all day.
That's the only thing it can be.
So, moving along, we're going to switch gears here onto a, I guess you can call it nerdy coming from boxing to building websites.
Geeky. It's geeky. It's not nerdy.
Hey, I get my geek on, man. Yeah. I'm embracing my inner geek, all right? So we're going to embrace our inner geek together here today, talking about how-tos for WordPress. So, if you have any questions, as we're live now, we are live on Facebook. So if you have questions right now that you want to talk about, make sure that you mention that on the channel, and we will try to bring that up if we can get enough time for it. But you got to ask first, right? If you don't ask, we don't know, right? And this is for you, all right? So the first question here is by Suzanne. Is how do I restrict certain pages on my website and control who gets access?
So on WordPress, that's challenging. There's a few ways to do that.
Right.
So the cheapest way to restrict content on any website is something called htaccess.
Okay.
And
Explain
it's highly complicated. It's not actually really complicated. It's very simple. You have two files, but they're on the server, and nobody can see them but you. And you edit them either on your local computer and FTP them to the server, or through, if you have cPanel, you can edit them through the File Explorer. But you have what you call as a .htaccess file and a .htpassword file. And inside those two files, you can create different usernames and passwords. And how you know that that's an htaccess password is when you go to the website and you get that third-party kind of pop-up, like the Windows pop-up that asks you for username and password. Mm-hmm. That's an htaccess request for username and password. You have the username in one file, and you have the password encrypted in another file. So it's complicated. Not a lot of people use it for password management anymore. It was big back in the
early 90s.
Early days of the internet, I guess.
So
early Unix, Linux.
Why? Right? Why would people not use it if it's something that's been around?
Because there's easier stuff to use today, right? But then you got to spend a little bit of money. So we use a plugin called Restrict Access Pro. And if you are a client of Hosterian for our Done For Me sites, it's included in that. So we do a lot of gyms and barbershops, boutiques and things like that need to restrict content. I don't know where barbershops came from. Hairstylists, right? So that have this restricted content. And so the gyms might have workouts. The beauty schools will have different classes and stuff that they give their usernames and passwords out to their students. So we use Restrict Content Pro. If you are not a Done For Me client and you're just anywhere hosting with Hosterian or any other provider, Restrict Content Pro is reasonably priced anyway. So we have a complete site license, but you can buy one for pretty cheap for yourself. And you put it on your WordPress website, and it's really easy to manage. You just choose what pages are going to be restricted, and then you have a system to add users. It ties into, I've used it with PayPal and Stripe pretty extensively, but it also has an Authorize.net plugin. So not only does it restrict content from the users, it has the payment gateway stuff built in. So it's really easy to use. With Restrict Content Pro, they also have Pro add-ons, they have third-party add-ons, and they have base add-ons. Some of the Pro add-ons, I've not used it yet, but I'm getting ready to use it. It's called Recapture.io, and what that does is it's a really cool platform from what I've read. I've not implemented it yet anywhere. We're getting ready to for a website, but you don't pay anything unless they actually make you money. So what Recapture.io does is if you...
Oh, we were talking about this the other day.
Yeah. So if you have the plugin Restrict Content Pro...
That's pretty cool, man.
And somebody puts your software or whatever service you have into their shopping cart, but they don't check out.
They abandon the
cart. Recapture.io continues to send them a series of emails. But they come back and they actually check out. That's awesome. That's the only time that you pay the Recapture.io is if they actually make you money. So
that's a cool business model, right?
It's a cool business model. I think it can get you in trouble. There's probably long term. There's probably less expensive ways to do that. But if a company's just starting and they need that functionality,
quick and easy, get it done.
It seems really good. But it ties into MailChimp. We use a mailing program called ACY Mailer. We have a site license for it. Again, it's one of those things that you can tie into any one of our packages. But it took a little bit of time for us to figure out how to get Content Pro, Restrict Content Pro, to automatically add users to our list inside ACY Mailer. But I think it took maybe 15, 20 minutes to figure out how that process would work, to get it to work. So it's highly customizable, highly flexible, and you can restrict content to different users groups, different products and things like that. And there's a lot of other third-party plugins that go with that plugin to make it even better than just restricting the content.
See, the more I get into WordPress, it really made me realize that, for one, WordPress is awesome, right? And what I think is awesome
there's a reason that majority of the websites on the internet are made with WordPress.
Right, but people are still not using WordPress. There's still tons of other CMSs that people are using that does not have
content
as much
management system. CMS.
Yes. Oh, wait, did I just geek out?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's my first time. But there's so many out there, and it's really surprising how, being that there's so many things that are available for you in WordPress, that people still don't use it, which
it can be overwhelming, right? I think the problem with WordPress is that it's overwhelming and there's so many choices to make, right? So what we try to do is narrow it down to, and I don't even know if they're the best plugins, but they're the plugins that our staff knows and is trained on so that we can support them well.
The plugins that work.
Yes.
Right? And I mean, at the end of the day, it has to work. So that's a big qualifier for me.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people miss out on the working part of it. They want the big, the flashy, that all these other like features and stuff, but you need to just get the job done.
A lot of people fail is that they want to install a plugin and it just automatically works, and that's not the case.
You have to configure it.
Right, you have to configure it. You have to RTFM, which is read the effing manual. Right?
I might let people know, man.
So it's a common phrase in IT, RTFM. before you do anything, just read the manual, and you don't have to read it like in depth, but just skim it over, get the basics. At least what I like to do, and I do this all the time, is I'll just take the plugin and I'll go right to YouTube, and I'll watch how to. And 90% of the time that I do that, I learn a tip or trick that I wasn't even expecting that plugin would do that I get to use it for.
Oh yeah, they'll always bring up something that the plugin or the manual doesn't talk about. Because I mean, that's stuff that like you have. It's a what do you call that? You're going
The nuances.
Yes. Yeah, the nuance,
yes.
right? You learn those along the way, so that's a really cool thing about YouTube as well. So Suzanne, I hope that answers your question. And again, all these questions are all about WordPress. So obviously, these questions cannot be answered in the same manner for other content management systems
Right.
or a website builder.
Well, the specific plugins, right? But some of the basics if you're going to do a module inside Joomla, which is something you've probably never done.
Never done.
Right? So WordPress, they're called plugins, and Joomla, they're called modules. You can use the same thing, right? In Joomla, there's a whole bunch of modules by third parties. You can YouTube and watch the how-tos on those. I mean, the biggest thing that I think there is find a good plugin, learn it, know its nuances,
Right.
do some research, and then live with that module. And unless you want to pay a lot of money for custom programming, I don't know a better way.
Yeah. So if you're on a budget, obviously, if you're on a budget, time is probably another thing in the way.
Well, yeah, but at that point, I think if you're just getting started, at least for me, when I was just getting started, this is not the case for me today, but I definitely had more time than I had money. Right? So I could use that to my advantage when I was younger. Mm-hmm. Today, I pay people to do research for me because I don't have a lot of time left, right?
Right.
I'm 45, so I don't have a lot of time left in my life, and I don't have a lot of free time in the daytime to be lollygagging with things. So if I know that I need to put a nail in a board, I'm going to grab a hammer. If I need to screw something in, I'm going to grab my power drill, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to try to use a power drill anymore to drive a nail, right? I might have when I was 20, but I'm not going to today.
Right. So got to move forward.
Right.
Got to move forward. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question. So we're going to keep it moving along here. Our next question is, how do I sell my photos without being a middleman online? By Amanda.
Without being a middleman. So I think without being a middleman, that's a hard one. Because that means you're going to cradle to grave the process, right? So without... I guess I'm having a hard time understanding what she means by without being the middleman. She's the photographer?
Yeah, so basically how I read it was that not kind of being heavily involved throughout the entire process, right? I remember when I first had...
Okay, I think I know what you mean. So she doesn't want to be always... negotiating back and forth for film price and stuff like that.
Right.
Okay.
You want to be heavily involved.
Right. I think you're currently working on a photographer's website, correct?
Yes, I am.
And what plugin are you using for that?
Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. It's called Envira. I think it's a really cool plugin. Some of the things I like about it is that it gives a really professional look, and it gives a lot of flexibility for the photographer and a lot of flexibility for the customer. Right, so not only can you easily create a bunch of different galleries, they'll give you a template that you can use, or you can make your own template, right, and kind of just make it look and feel the way you want. But one of the things I really like about it, two of the things I really like about it, is that after the photos are uploaded, you can just send that client a link and then a password. So then the world is not showing there in your gallery.
So is that built into the plugin, or
Yeah.
do you have to use restrict content for that?
It's built into the plugin. Now in the plugin, there's a few different options, right? So obviously, if you go higher up on the package, you'll have more add-ons available for you. So depending on where you are in your photography will determine on which one of the packages will work best for you. I think that's a good thing to have, a way to send your client their own personal link.
Absolutely.
And their password protected, so the world.
So is that for something like I'm going to do bar mitzvahs and weddings?
Exactly. So
okay.
say you're going to do bar mitzvahs, weddings. Say you're going to do senior photos, right? I'm assuming kids are still doing that these days. I don't know how.
Probably not this year.
COVID's messing stuff up, so I'm not really sure. But prom photos, right? A lot of school photos all day, really.
Right.
And then you have the family photos, right? And that was my first time experiencing something like this. Was I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. My wife actually got us into taking photos on a regular basis. I never took photos,
Right.
right? But we did that, and we had a photographer that had a similar kind of setup where they just sent us a link. So even though I can see the gallery of what her past work was, because she knew her, I didn't, so I wanted to see if she was good or not.
Right.
But knowing that I had a protection of my own property, and we could see it, we could download it, we can do our thing. But brings us to my next point. The other thing I really like about this plugin is that you can purchase through WooCommerce, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So now, if you want to buy a printed copy, you just order it, add it to the cart.
So we use what's the name of the program? Plugin again?
Enviro.
Enviro and WooCommerce built in together.
It integrates with WooCommerce.
It integrates with WooCommerce.
Yes.
And then any third-party printer that integrates with WooCommerce you can use.
Right.
Fantastic. Right, home run. And if you don't know what WooCommerce is a shopping cart plugin that works with WordPress phenomenally. So I probably wouldn't use WooCommerce unless I had more than 10 or 15 products. I'd probably use something different just because it is fairly complicated unless those products had variations. So like if you're selling a coat.
Photos, they will be, man.
Right. So if you're selling a coat and you wanted to sell it in blue, red, and green, it would be hard to do that without WooCommerce. Because if you're selling a coat in blue, red, and green, then you're also selling it in small, medium, large, extra large, 2XL, and all those things. So that's when creating a shopping cart, that's when you need to go to something a little more robust like WooCommerce, is whenever you have a bunch of different variations, right?
Exactly.
If you don't have that, if you're just selling a book or a product,
you don't need that.
Then Paperform is absolutely perfect.
Home run for that.
Yeah.
Super easy.
Yep.
Anyone can do that.
Yes.
So yeah, those are some of the things I really like about it, and obviously there's a lot more, but that's really the meat and potatoes of it, the things that really matter for the photographer and then for the end user. You want to make it seamlessly.
Right.
So I think it's really cool for her to.
So what she meant by middleman is she didn't want to do all the hustling. She wanted it to be automatic.
Because right now she was.
Right.
Right. So she would, take the photo, edit the photo, show them the photo, and if they wanted it, they had to talk about all the sizes, negotiate the sizes, and how many.
So she's still the middleman in this case scenario because she's making the money.
Right.
But she's automated the entire process.
Exactly.
Yes.
And automation's your best friend if you're a business owner, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you just send a link and say, "All right, do your thing," and then I'm out. I'm out at that point.
Yes.
And that's where you really want to be. And people don't. No one wants to be sold to, but everyone loves to buy.
Yes.
And that type of automation for the photographers, it allows people just to buy.
Yeah, I think though, and I don't know the plugin that well. Does it have something in there that it follows up with them over, like some kind of tickler or
I'm assuming it
customer
does.
management system where it continues to email and saying, "Hey, you haven't bought yet.
I have to look that
hey,
part up.
I'm going to remove your gallery next week if you don't let me know that you want to keep it." Those kinds of things.
It gives the photographer access, so
Yeah.
they know where people are.
Okay.
So I didn't look to see if that part was available, but I now want to go back and look
Right.
and make sure.
So even if it's not though, what you could do is you could automate. You could add some customizations to that software.
Right.
Because to me the beautiful thing about WordPress is that it's open source.
Right.
And you start with this very containerized application and plugins that do very specific things. But if you need to take a branch off of that and fork it to do something slightly different or modify it, you can hire a programmer to have that done.
Right.
Right? And the programmers, you can get at Upwork or Fiverr or any of those places. And if you've got programming chops yourself, you can jump right in there. If you got an employee or something like that, you can modify it, add, remove functionality and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, these are all reasons why I love WordPress.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's a really cool playground, and the more I learn about it, the more I dive into it, the more I just want to do stuff.
Right.
I can't wait.
At the end of the day, there's a whole lot of ifs for WordPress as well.
Yeah.
If then this, then this. So it's if is if ITTTF.
If this, then that.
If this, then that. Yeah. .com. And it's a great website, and they have a bunch of plugins or modules ifs already built for WordPress.
A lot of platforms.
Yeah.
And right now, actually, we don't have a partnership with IFT,
No.
but right now is the time to get an IFT.
Absolutely, yeah. So you get
it's the time right
you
now.
get to choose your price as low as
Choose your price,
$1.99 a month.
man.
Yeah.
Oh man. So, but you have to tell it though, right? Because it will automatically put you in the $9.99 one. So you have to manually tell it. I want to pay $1.99.
Yeah, and I do all kinds of crazy stuff with that. Like just crazy. Like you can do. This is way off topic, but it's really fun to say if I make a WordPress post for my blog to automatically send that to Facebook or Twitter. Right. Just so that you don't have to do that extra step. So it's pretty pretty powerful stuff.
Absolutely. I almost cursed, but yes. Absolutely.
I think we can do PG-13. PG-13.
I get weird sometimes with PG-13, man, because when I was younger, PG-13 was pretty raw, dude. It was raw.
Yeah, it's not as bad today.
Like Goonies was rated PG when we were kids, man. Goonies, right?
Yeah.
All right. So moving along here.
Hold on one second. Before we move any further, if you like what we're doing here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and you're watching this on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to this just on Spotify or any of your podcast platforms, make sure you subscribe to that channel. We put a podcast out every Tuesday, and we have a lot of fun doing it. And the more subscribers we have, the more likes that we have, helps us know that you like what we're doing so we can keep doing it. And if you don't like it, tell us what you don't like, and we'll either ignore that or change. Just to be candid.
Yes. Or tell us what you do like about it, right?
And we'll keep doing more.
And we'll keep doing more of that, right?
Yes.
Oh, man, this is awesome.
Right. Okay. Shameless plug, move on.
All right, moving along. Okay, how can I create a website that allows clients to schedule and pay for appointments? And that's by Edward.
So this comes up a lot for us.
Yes.
My I only have two favorites, and that's Start Booking, which we do have an affiliate with, and Calendarly. They're both slightly different, and I use them both for different things. So at the gyms, we use Start Booking. For my personal stuff, I use Calendarly. So I like them both. They both have plugins that you can plug in for PayPal, Stripe, Authorize.net to take payments from.
There you go.
And they both have different ways of scheduling stuff. So to me, Start Booking is better for if you have recurring class kind of stuff than Calendarly is. And Calendarly is a lot better if you say, hey, like the one that I use the most for my personal side is it's called a 30-minute scoping call. So anytime somebody sends me an email that says, hey, I'm having problems with this, I send them my Calendarly for a 30-minute scoping call. Right. So I'm as long as I don't have a 30-minute spot open, they can book a 30-minute scoping call with me, and that's just to go over, what hurdles you have or what struggles you're having, what you're trying to overcome, or what services you might need or want.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Obviously I don't have a gym, so like the Start Booking one doesn't really help me a lot with a lot of stuff. Right. Even though that's our partnership, so it does help a lot of people, and it's a very powerful tool.
Right.
Calendly is the one that I love because one of the things I really love about it, how I can make different types of meetings.
Yes.
So, you had mentioned how you have the 30-minute scoping call, but I mean, I have a meeting for each one of the products that we have.
Right. Yes.
Right. So if I'm, trying to find out where a lead came from, or where, if I want to know what this meeting's about before I even start the meeting, I can set up that meeting type and push that out and know exactly what I'm going to be talking about.
And that, at the end of the day, is the big difference between Brian and myself. He likes to know what he's walking into, and I never I like to walk in raw and learn what's happening on the fly. So that's why I like the 30-minute scoping call. It's one thing, and it could be, it's crazy. Tomorrow, I know I've got one tomorrow. I already know what it's about. It's about co-location. But I've had them come in random stuff, and they want to talk about VPNs, or they want to talk about MPLS networks, or just any kind of random stuff that you want to talk about what you're trying to overcome. Yeah. I mean, we have Hosterian as our main brand, but we also have Primary Network, which, we can do international internet services, MPLS, 10 gig, 100 gig, T1 lines, whatever you need. So,
there you go.
I like to keep it kind of open because I don't want to put people into this narrow bucket of what we can talk about when we get into it.
Right, and I absolutely get that.
But I don't have a commission structure, and I don't have to keep the KPIs for how many calls I did each week for this product. If you have that, then what Brian's talking about is the way to go.
Right. I mean, and I still have mine too. I still have a 30-minute scoping call.
Right.
I have an hour one too, because sometimes, like, depending on what the product may be, I know they're going to need a lot more like training.
Yes.
And I have those available. So definitely not opposed to it. But I mean, these are all the reasons why I like Calendly.
Yep.
You can do the way that works for you.
And I have an hour one too, but that one you had to put a credit card number in. Right. So I'll talk to anybody 30-minute scoping call, no charge, right?
Yeah,
Just to see, hey, can we do this, and then make the decision. Are we going to go forward and maybe have conversations about, okay, do we need to do proposals? Do we need to schedule another call? But for me to book an hour right out of the gate, and we've never talked before.
I don't give that out to brand new people.
Okay.
That's
so the
not
hour
brand new.
scoping call is like a follow-up.
Typically, that's for clients already.
Right.
They're already clients. There's something like a problem they need help with. They need training for.
Right. And so that's a good point. So in Calendly and Start Booking, you can go a couple different ways. So on your Calendly page, you can hide different types of calendar events.
Oh, okay.
And you can make them public. But at the end of the day, if you don't copy the code and put it on your website, nobody's going to know about it anyway.
Right.
Right. So
Good
the
point.
scoping calls, actually, we have one really cool thing that we have is we've set up a round robin group.
Forgot about that.
Right.
one.
So for some of our products and services, like our marketing products and services, if you were to go to our website and book a 30-minute scoping call for our marketing services, full digital agency, you would see me or Brian's picture, and it's going to hop between us both, whoever's got
Available
and
in
it's
that
not
time
even,
frame.
it's available in the time frame, right?
Yeah.
So that's a really great feature
Forgot about that.
that Calendly has that we're not affiliated with, that Start Booking might have, but it's not abundantly obvious to me.
Right. Right. So that was so Edward, hopefully that answered your question. And again, for any of these questions that we answered, if you want more of that question answered, or you have more questions about your question in particular, if something else pops up for you, let us know. Right. You got Ken's text line here.
314-370-2871. Throw it up right here. Thank you.
Right. You can also text Hosterian at 314-216-2040. Right. We're here for you. We want to help. We want to help. All right. So we're going to keep on moving along. Our next question here is by Jason. It is, what are some good ways to make an e-commerce website?
Good ways to make an e-commerce website.
That's popular now.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's always been popular since the internet, right? I mean, this has been the struggle since day one. I think I think the training wheels are off for e-commerce,
Yes.
right? Where the world is okay putting their credit card
Online.
I think if you're under 55 years old in today's world, you're pretty comfortable doing that.
Maybe
And then
you
as
can
you get
pay,
over there,
Apple Pay.
it starts to get a little bit, it starts to deteriorate a little bit with the comfortableness of putting your credit card number in on a website. I would say right out of the gate, it depends on how many products and services you have, and it depends on how flexible those products and services need to be, right? If you have a product or a service, an ebook, anything like that, Paperform is so simple to put a product or even 10 products, or really, right? We're doing
quite a few.
We're doing a protein donut site right now that
There's
she's
8.
got 8 donuts on there. High protein donuts. We're using Paperform for that. It lays it out. You copy and paste the code into your website, and it looks like it all integrates. It's fast.
It looks good.
It's PCI compliant. You don't have to worry about any of those things,
Yeah.
and it just works, and it's super simple.
Can't beat that with a stick. That's something that just works and simple, man.
Yes. If you have a lot of products or complex stuff, WooCommerce is a really great way to go. I also like OS Commerce a lot. It's harder to integrate with WordPress, but I feel like it's more powerful.
What makes it harder to integrate?
I mean, WooCommerce is like they've integrated, they've committed to WordPress pretty much,
Got it.
right? It's so simple to add WooCommerce in. I think where I struggle with WooCommerce is that it's making pages and post products instead of like what I was used to before. And I've used shopping carts of all kinds throughout my years. WooCommerce is super simple. Like once you understand the mentality on how they're doing things, It's really easy to add products. It's really easy to add variations, small, medium, large, red, blue, and green. All of those things, you can add them in there. I would recommend, if you're going to use a shopping cart program, that you use that whatever inventory control module that shopping cart has, that becomes your definitive source of inventory, right? So
good call.
If you're Clicks and Bricks, you have a store. If you have a storefront, and you have online commerce, right? That you put all of your inventory into your website, and then that's what's going to track it. I guess the other place, and this I'm probably way short-sighting this, is Square. Square is super simple, and I think I probably discount it because it's fairly new to the Square of having your online store.
I mean, it seems pretty simple. I mean, I've only really gotten to like the backside of it at Tidal.
Right. Yes.
It's really. I mean, it's got a search function. You can find exactly what you're looking for. Like,
So I mean, Square does have a shopping cart. You could use Shopify. It's pretty slick, but to me, Shopify and Square they're going to. We like to live like there's no box. Like, we live in a world of boxes, triangles, and circles, and squares, and all these things, right?
All these shapes.
And with Square and with Shopify, you have to live within their box, right? They've created this sandbox. You do everything, and you live within inside of that. So the second that you come across some kind of variation that doesn't work in that platform, you're done. With WooCommerce and OS Commerce, they're open source. You can hire a programmer to come in and change it, right? So, I'm not talking bad about those other two platforms. They're fantastic, and I've used them both, right? I use Square today.
Yeah, still use it.
I don't have a Shopify store anymore, but I've had a Shopify store that's been somewhat successful. I got hurt I told you about the shotgun shells. But
that's a funny story.
Yeah, it is a funny story. So, and should I tell it now?
Just go for it, man.
Okay,
you gotta bring it up now.
This is absolutely ridiculous. So my wife owns a website called livelovehunt.com, and she owns all the property Live Love Hunt. And she really, what she promotes is female outdoors and conservation. So, conserving our natural wildlife and supporting females that like to go out into the wilderness and do things, if it's hunting or climbing or anything like that. And, so she was selling these shotgun shells as keychains. She was converting them. She was putting them in glitter and selling them as keychains one Christmas, and she sold
dazzling them basically
a lot of them, right? And it was through her Shopify store, and she ran out of empty shells, and she's like, "Hey, I ran out of empty shells." And I'm like, "Okay, not a problem. I load my own shotgun shells. Right. I'm a bit." I don't know if I'm a survivalist. I don't know if I'm a prepper, but I like to be prepared for things, and I like to know how to do a lot of things. So I make my own ammo, right? I have a whole setup in my garage, and I melt my own lead.
How you label that?
Yeah, I melt my own lead, and I make my own ammunition. Mostly because shotgun shells for my shotgun shells at the range are about $1 a pop.
They're expensive.
And I've got a DP-12, which is 16 rounds. And it's a fast automatic, semi-automatic.
Eat shells.
I eat through shells. So throwing dollar bills down a range isn't fun for me. If I can make my own, they're like 20 cents a round. So I've got all these empty holes, but I have them pre-primered. And I really thought that I could just pop the bottom of the primer with my hammer, and it would go out. And I thought that the pressure and everything from the barrel is what makes it go. And there's no ammo, and there's no gunpowder, and it's just the primer. Well, I was wrong. That freaking hurt. Like, my hand was all bloody. I got that ringing in my ears from the in the movies, like when something bad happens, like that bad ringing in the bright light. You can't see for a second. So anyway, that's what I did with my Shopify store. I almost blew my hand off. I'm fine now.
So if you have a Shopify store, don't blow it up. Yes. Don't do that.
But we had to make sure that the ammo was spent before she could decorate it and send it off, right? And I just went about it the wrong way. But I got a story now at least. So
and you learned.
I learned. I won't do. I probably might do it again. We'll see what happens. I
Let's
might
record
forget
it
about
this
that.
time.
Yes.
Make a really cool TikTok with that one.
Yeah. So it was fun, and she sold a whole lot of those
Right.
silly keychains. But now she's busy with Tidal and doing other stuff. So it got to the point where she was making more money with another project. So you got to weigh your
Pros and cons.
your pros and cons all the time when you're doing a business or multiple businesses. Where do you want to spend your efforts, right? And you want to spend them, and to me, I want to spend them on what creates the most joy for me.
Bingo.
And then 2, I had to worry about feeding my family. So then, the second factor for me is what can I make the most money at?
Right.
So,
hey, I think those are 2 really good ways to kind of gauge if you should do something.
yeah, it's a good gut check, right?
I think it's a great gut check. I've been slowly trying to convert my life over to things that I enjoy doing, and trying to get paid doing things I enjoy doing, because it doesn't feel like work at that point.
I never feel like I'm working.
Time becomes timeless at that point.
Yeah, I think I probably easily put in 80 hours a week, every single week since I was probably 12 or 13 years old. And the only times that I felt like I was working is when I took shitty jobs for money.
Yeah.
Right. That was the only time, and I hated that. I hated myself. I hated everybody around me when I did it. So I try not to do those things.
I literally lose track, because even when I leave here, like, I read so much stuff. Like, I'm always researching something. I'm like, all right, I can't wait to talk to the guys about this. Right.
Yeah.
And since you guys are so much further along when it comes to technology and IT and everything with computers, so I'm like, okay, I got to catch up.
Well, yeah, but you're so much further ahead a lot of times in social aspects of the world. So, like, a lot of our guys. They're way introverts, right? Because they're working on IT nonstop, and that's the kind of person they are. So I think it's great to have.
It's a good team.
Both sides of that teeter-totter.
That's a great team.
Yeah.
That's what makes it good. You can't have everyone be the same.
Right.
That's a bad team.
And our current team does a great job of respecting both sides of that teeter-totter, which is fantastic.
And that's a hard thing to come across, right? And most people want you to do exactly what they do, and they don't accept other people's way.
Well, that happened when we got rid of all of our traditional salespeople. Right, when we had traditional sales guys like these, the suits, press suits that were just hardcore sales all the time. Mm-hmm. They did not get along very well. Those kinds of salespeople and introverts did not get along very well at all.
I can absolutely see that.
But we've changed our entire concept of how we do sales. So
we changed since I've been here. So I could have been what it was before.
Yep, absolutely. So. Now that we just do content creation, creating value, and order takers, then we have a harmonious hormone. How I don't know how to say that word.
Where's Abby?
Yeah, I need Abby because words are hard for Ken. We live in harmony.
Yeah. We play well in the sandbox.
Yes.
Our sandbox. It's our sandbox.
It is our sandbox, and it can be yours too if you want to come play with us.
We're friendly. We're friendly. And one more follow-up question to that last question about the e-commerce. If someone's doing drop shipping, where would you recommend them having their e-commerce site at?
If you're doing drop shipping, then I think you should first talk to who your suppliers are and ask them what platforms they feel are the best to integrate with them. So because a lot of these drop shippers now will have their own websites.
Gotcha.
Like they'll have their own little hosting provider stuff, right? So they'll have something to say, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z integrates with us. We do have a plugin called, and our main, not our main guy, but one of our guys that knows a lot about this stuff is currently out on COVID. His name is Chris. And let's see if Ron knows. Do you know the name of the plugin for the import? It's just Import Pro. I'll get the name of the plugin and we'll put it up right here, somewhere in here. We'll put the name of the plugin up here. But basically, with WordPress, there's an Import Export Pro plugin, and I don't know the exact name of it. But you'll get your list of available inventory from the dropshipper, and then you can upload it with this plugin, and it integrates with a bunch of different shopping carts. I know it integrates with WooCommerce. The last time I used it was for a car dealer, because the car dealer was always changing inventory, and he had this third-party website that he used, and we would have one job that downloaded the inventory every day, and another job using this import software that imported it to his WooCommerce section. So
it was updated all the time.
Right, and he's selling cars online, used cars online. So, which was a challenge, but we found the plugins to do it, and the technology to get it done, and it was all through WordPress. So,
Beautiful.
where you should host it, really, I mean, everybody should host at Hosterian. If for some reason you choose not to, I think today hosting is pretty much a commodity.
Right.
All things in the hosting world are fairly equal. So it's really about when you call into support, who do you get and who do you talk to? That to me is the big differentiator for where should you host.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody's going to help you figure these details out. So, but figuring those details out about how to import, with some of these drop shipping companies, I've got a friend who runs Midwest Aftermarket. They sell a bunch of Jeep parts, right? He's got a server here, and he uses that server to move data around, right? That's all he uses it for. And I think host a basic website. But figuring out how to tie those different pieces together, having a partner to help you do that understands technology is going to be huge. So if you know how to do those things and you've got those tools, really host it anywhere you want.
There you go.
If you don't know and you need some consulting, then we're here, and there's a lot of guys out there that can do it. But I would first talk to your wholesaler to see if they have tools and stuff already in place for you.
Where their relationships already lie at.
Correct, right? Because it's way easier to say copy than it is to create something from scratch.
Absolutely. I'm still learning that.
Yes. Brian has a habit of every time we get a new project, he wants to start from zero every time. Like, we have like 1,000 templates. You can just choose 3 of those and then talk to the client and then see where they're at instead of
I'm just so
creating
excited
from
for the
scratch
stuff I learned, man. I'm like, I want to see what I can do now.
Yes. So.
But yeah, that's a good point. I think.
But there's, this is something that's very important for business in every aspect. Is that last? I think I picked this logic up from Mark Cuban. That last 2% push, right?
Marcus Lemonis.
Is it Lemonis? The last 2%? Okay,
Mark
Lemonis. Yes. That last dollar, the last 2%. So even if you start with a basic theme, you're going to make enough changes to it that it becomes yours. It's going to be your personality. It's going to be your voice that's coming through with that basic theme. And where that voice is going to come in is in that last 2%, that last dollar that you spend. Those are the most important dollars that you spend. It's the most important percentage of work that you do is that last 2%, that last dollar. So starting with a template might seem cheap and shortcutty. And it would be if that's where you stopped, right?
All you did.
If you just kicked up a template and said, okay, see you later, absolutely, that would be a shortcut and it would be the cheap way to go. Mm-hmm. But in reality, what really happens is you start with a template and you start modifying it, you change out all the stock images to your images, even the backgrounds to your backgrounds, to your color scheme, and then you start adding functionality by here, by now, schedule an appointment, check us out on Facebook, all those things, right? So a lot of people, and I think that's maybe why Brian thinks that, it's taking too many shortcuts.
Maybe it is.
But, getting rid of that 80 or 90% of the work, that's the easy work to do. It's that last 2% of the work that is really hard to do that makes the difference, that really polishes it, right? Yeah. Like, this is why I'm not a carpenter, right? Because I freaking hate sanding. And sanding it down to make it perfect, and that's just not me, right? So I don't do that work. And and have a really good product, I can make a table. It'd be a great table, but you get a splinter at it if you try to eat dinner, right? So I don't do those things, right? And that's really the difference when you start with WordPress is, you start with this thing that everybody else has. And if you leave there, then you shorted yourself out. But if you start putting the work in from there, and use that head start, then you might actually get done with that last 2%.
So it's almost like a mindset shift, right? A paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Right, because you have to know that I'm going to make this mine. I just have to start here, which is what you're doing in your business anyway.
Right, and every day you should be looking at it and go, what can I make better?
Yeah.
What can I do better?
Yeah.
What can I do better? And luckily today we have software that will tell you what you can do better. So if
we
you're
have
thinking
Google.
about
Just
what do
Google
I
it.
do? Do I say a 50% discount or do I say a 60% discount? Split test it, right? And it'll tell you exactly what to do
Yeah.
long
That's
term,
really cool.
right? Give it enough data. The systems, if you use them, will tell you what to do.
Absolutely. And one final point before we move on to the next question that I do not want to overstep because I think it's very powerful.
And I think we're getting pretty close to 6, right? We got about 10 minutes left?
Yeah.
Okay.
We what do we have? 2 more questions left.
Okay.
But I just wanted to mention really quickly that the answer, your answer was that to go back to your vendor, just ask them.
Use your relationships.
You have to leverage your relationships. There's
Yes.
so many resources that we have at our fingertips, and people are just not being resourceful with what they have. And I fall victim to that, right? Because I'm creating shit when I just had a template to have it done already.
Yeah. Well, and I think creating's fun, right? I mean, that's
It is
what we
fun.
like to do. We like to create stuff.
I'm a creative guy. I like to play around with stuff.
But the instant gratification of kicking up a theme and starting to modify it with your customers' content is very gratifying as well.
Yeah. So leverage your relationships. You have resources. Use them, right?
Yes.
We're a resource, right? We are available to have these conversations with you. If you're kind of stuck in a rut, you don't know where really to go, we can talk and figure this out.
Right.
Right?
Just an example. Brian got a text message today said, "Hey, what would you charge
Oh, yeah.
to review my website? To review my website?"
Yeah.
And Brian asked, "What would I charge?" I'm like, "Well, we'll do a 30-minute scope and call for free."
Right.
We'll have a conversation with you and not charge you about what we think you can improve on your website, and you can take our advice and hire somebody else to do it, or you can hire us to do it, or you can say that's stupid and walk away. Like, that's totally your choice.
I'm still getting used to that, right? Because I was never the website guy, and now I'm becoming the website guy. So
Right.
it's like a new world for me. Like, man, should I charge for this?
I mean, you're doing a lot of studying, right? But our mantra is to create value and to help people. So that's where we come from first, and then,
Right.
I do sales calls quite a bit. I don't charge for sales calls, right? I'm
Right.
not going to charge you to sell you products or services, right? That's part of the scoping call or the discovery
Right.
calls and those kinds of things, right? It's one of, in our Done For You website, it's one of our 6 simple steps is the discovery call.
Right.
Right?
That's the first
Hey,
step.
will this
Step
even
one.
work?
Step 1.
Right? So, yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah. So Josh, hit us up, man. Let's talk. Figure it out. All right. Moving along here. This is by Sharon. How do I retarget website visitors in Facebook by using Facebook Pixels?
Okay, so it took me a long time to figure out Facebook Pixels, and when it clicked, I was like, "You dummy, this is so easy." So everybody's like, all I had ever heard is, "Oh, you got to be using the Facebook Pixel. You got to be using the Facebook Pixel," but nobody ever showed me how
They
to
don't really
do
explain how to.
They don't. They just say you have to use
Just
it.
do
But so, and I'll try to come up with a scenario that makes it really, really simple. So if I was Foot Locker,
Okay.
right, and I was selling shoes, obviously, and I had Nike, Puma, and Adidas, right? I had 3 specific landing pages. I'd have footlocker.com/Puma, footlocker.com/Adidas, footlocker.com/Nike.
Nike.
Is it Nike or Nike?
Nike.
I think it's Nike. So I have those 3 pages on my website,
Okay.
and I have a Facebook pixel on every page of my website. What I can do is go into Facebook and create a custom audience of people that hit the page /Puma. So now I know, and I can exclude them if they hit /Puma, and that's the only page that they hit,
Right.
then I can create an audience from people that have been to my webpage on Facebook and only looked at Puma, right? If they've looked at all 3, then I can give them, kind of a carousel ad.
Yeah.
But if they only hit Puma, then I'm only going to display them Puma ads,
Exactly.
right? If they only hit Nike, I'm only going to display them Nike ads. But if they hit all 3, I can have a Nike audience, an Adidas audience, and a Puma audience, and I can have another audience that's all 3 or any combination of the 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they've been to all 3 pages on my website and they're browsing around, I want to show them a carousel ad of all 3 of those brands.
Right.
If they only hit one brand, I
Show them
only
that
want to
brand.
show them that brand, right?
Right.
Can is never gonna buy Puma. Never in my life, probably. Unless somebody gives me a pair of Puma as a gift and I love them.
You shouldn't buy it though.
Right? And then I might become a Puma fan, but I know the Nike and the Puma they're brothers, right? They're German made shoes.
Which I think is hilarious.
Right? So I'm an Adidas guy. I have one pair of Nike and that's it. And I'll probably never have another pair of Nike in my life. I'm a 3-stripe guy. So why would Foot Locker show me Nike ads?
Or anything besides Adidas.
Anything but Adidas, right?
Right.
I'm in that tribe. So that's an example of how you could use, and I know that I'm using a giant brand with giant brands.
But people get that.
To do that. So, but you could I think you could take that scenario and put it into your business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think not knowing how to even install the Pixel, people are confused on that part.
So, and literally
That's
for the
the easiest
Pixel
part.
is you can go a couple of different ways. There's plugins. There's hundreds of Facebook Pixel plugins in WordPress that you can pop in. If not, just copy the code and inside your header file, right below the body tag, you put it in there. If you know WordPress at all, or if you know HTML at all, it's pretty simple. If you don't, kick it to your developer, and they can do it. I don't even know that we could charge for it because it's so. If you were a client at Hosterian, we'd just do it for nothing.
Yeah.
Because you're hosting your site here. But if you weren't, I don't even know. It's so fast and easy. I don't even know how we would charge for it.
I mean, you could literally probably Google how to do that. I think I made a. Did I make a video? I think I made a video about it.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's a lot of resources out there.
So like for Hosterian, we have a Pixel that is for co-location, a Pixel that's for dedicated servers, a Pixel or an audience. Right? It's the same Pixel across all the site.
Right.
We have a co-location audience, a dedicated server audience, a virtual private server audience, a digital marketing audience, and we'll be adding a clicks and bricks audience as well, right? So and those audiences, unless you're getting a whole lot of traffic, be patient with them. You're going to create them. If you don't have a whole lot of traffic to your website, it's going to take a while to build those audiences and learn. Facebook learning process, it takes a long time sometimes.
Gotta
Be patient, keep pushing it. Get in chat with Facebook and talk to them. They are there. They will talk to you. It takes a little bit of time, but you'll get somebody.
And there's a lot of Facebook groups too, right? I mean, there's a lot of Facebook groups that are people that are out here knocking these things out of the park, right? And I mean, I've had really good experience in the Facebook groups. So, I mean, you can ask a lot.
I have better experience in the Facebook groups and like the Billie Jean group that we're in. I have decent experience in there. My problem with Facebook and YouTube and Google is that Facebook is moving faster than the content creators on the how-tos. So a lot of times, if you find a how-to on how to do something on Facebook through YouTube, it's outdated. And it can be outdated even if it's only 3 or 4 months old.
Those are the ones that have the most views, or the ones that are outdated.
And it's frustrating. Yeah, it's very frustrating because you'll spend a decent amount of time watching that video learning how to do something that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I can't. That's happened to me 4 or 5 times. I'm like, man, this sucks.
And you feel like you're doing something wrong out of the gate. Like, what am I doing wrong? And you're not doing anything wrong. It's just that functionality doesn't exist in the way that it was originally that when that video was made.
So I guess you can blame Mark Zuckerberg for that.
You can blame Zuck for that for sure, and that's if you want to go back to his original statement on how fashion doesn't end. That's why, right? Because he's got this philosophy that Facebook isn't going to be over. It's never going to be finished. It's always going to be evolving, and I think that's a great attitude to have for a plethora of reasons, right?
It sucks when you're trying to learn how to do something.
It's going to be hard.
It changes.
Facebook's going to ebb and flow for sure, right? It's going to go through its down cycle. I think it's headed in a down cycle right now, but I think it's so powerful. And because it's so integrated into so many people's lives, it's going to come back around.
Yeah.
And not that it's gone now. It's like the most popular social network on the planet, right?
Right.
So.
Well, I think them buying IG was to help boost them back up. Because they're connected now.
Yeah, I don't understand personally, I don't understand the methodology behind buying Instagram so quickly at such a high valuation for what Instagram was at its time. And obviously they got a great deal. It was $1 billion, but they've made more than that. So it was a great deal for them, even though most people said it was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they did that, and they don't just take out a lot of the social networks that are on their rise, right? Why hasn't Facebook taken out TikTok yet? Why haven't they taken out Thriller yet? Why haven't they taken out,
Parler.
I've probably got 20 different social media networks on my phone right now of new guys that are trying to come up and out. Most of them are going to fail. Some of them are going to break out. And I don't know why Facebook just doesn't buy them all.
That's probably why. Like, it's like, why waste it? If they're going to like fizzle out, that's just a waste of time and resources.
Oh, but TikTok's not phasing out.
That's not phasing out. They
Right.
transformed from Musical.ly to TikTok, and they're still on the up and coming.
And they're on an uphill. I mean, they're a rocket, just flying, right? We don't know what's going to happen. We heard this week that they're going to go from 1 minute videos to 3 minute videos.
Right, which is a game changer because now they want to like teach people. They want to educate, be more of an educating type of platform.
So who knows what's going to happen with TikTok? I think it's going to be a fun ride. We're investing a little bit into TikTok, not a whole lot into TikTok.
About 1 or 2 videos a day.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be focusing more on LinkedIn and Facebook than TikTok for our business, but we do have other businesses that will be leaning on TikTok quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens.
So Sharon, hopefully that answered your question. Our last question, because we're wrapping up here, is by Seth. It is, what are the best ways to drive traffic to your website, paid and not paid?
To drive traffic to your website, not get leads.
Drive traffic to your website.
I would say the best way paid to drive traffic to your website would be Google AdWords.
I knew it.
It's so wildly specific, and you can pay-per-click and get it there. I mean, you can spin up a website in a day, and that very same day have traffic for keywords going to your website. For unpaid, quick or not quick?
It doesn't specify quick. It just said best.
Okay. So I think, and I'll give you a couple different things. So if you're a brick and mortar, I think the best way to get unpaid traffic to your website would be with Directory Listings Pro, and get in as many directory listings as you can with accurate, consistent information. When I say that, I mean Yahoo, Bing, every directory, Yelp that's out there. We've got a tool that hits 74 of them.
Yep.
74 of the different directories. And what that'll do, if you have a brick and mortar store in a local place, it will put you in the Google 3-pack, which is huge. Once you're in the Google 3-pack, which is that square at the top, if you can put an example of the Google 3-pack right here so that people can see what that Google 3-pack is. If you Google hair salon near me or barber near me, it'll be that 3 with the address, phone number, website
it's the maps.
at the top. It's the Google Maps piece that comes up front. If you can land there and you're a local business, hands down,
holy grail.
awesome. Outside of that, long-term strategy for getting free traffic would be search engine optimization. So content creation, blog writing, buying PLRs, rewriting them, and posting them on your website. That would be the long-term strategy. Short-term strategy, backlinks. Get as many people in the world that can do backlinks to your website as possible. And that could be a paid for or a free service. So if you can just email websites that have some kind of synergy, not competitors, but if you're a gym, you can email your chiropractors. You can email your fitness clothing lines and say, hey, I wrote this article. It links back to my website. Would you post it on your website? Right? And since all website owners are looking for new, fresh content, most of them will agree.
Right. One thing I did want to add on to that, you mentioned the adding content, and just don't add content on one platform. As many platforms that make sense for your brand and for your industry, right? So some brands and industries don't work well for IG, right? Because it's more of a photo.
Well, I don't know. But they need to have a strategy for Instagram, right?
Yes.
I think all companies could find a strategy for Instagram.
Right.
Some would be more
challenging than others.
Posterian does not have an Instagram account at all. Right. And it's because we've not come up with a strategy that we felt comfortable with launching it into Instagram.
Right. So starting off in the content building, go for the ones that you can knock out the park. Right. So start with the really easy ones. And the last piece I also want to add on to that is reviews. Ask for reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Send those reviews out to people because that also gets you ranked higher in Google. That also gets people talking about your business.
Yes.
When people are looking for that product, which is gonna, if they find it, they're gonna read the review and they're gonna go to their website.
Yes, absolutely. Reviews is a great way.
I mean, people trust reviews. There's a stat. You can look this up, all right? Google stats. People trust reviews 66% of the time more than trusting a personal recommendation.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I know that for a fact. Because I mean, I know some pretty interesting people.
Right.
So if they were to tell me something was fact, I'm like, all right, man, let me go fact check that. You know what I mean? So and I'm not alone, right? I'm not the only person that has interesting people in their world that they may need to go fact check when they validate something.
But Google makes it so nice, right? It's a list of reviews. You
Read
can
them
see
all.
the good ones and the bad ones right next to each other.
Boom.
And I honestly read the bad reviews almost with a grain of salt, but I really read them and try to anticipate what really went wrong here. Because some people are just negative Nancy's, right? And at the end of the day, if you do 100 good things for 100 people, you won't hear a peep. But if you do one bad thing to one person, you might get 10 bad reviews. It's crazy. Right.
I mean, when I look for, I read negative reviews and really good reviews. I want to see, did they get what they were looking for?
Yes.
And the people that didn't work, I'm just looking for what really didn't work. Because sometimes people, like you said, they're negative Nancy's, or people that complain about stuff that is completely irrelevant.
Right. Yeah, like it got lost in the mail. Well, that's not the shipper's fault, right? Or it's not
the company's fault.
Not the company's fault, right?
Or it got broken shipping or something.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's not always their fault. I mean, it could have been, but
right.
A lot of times, I mean, I worked at UPS, and it's not always the manufacturer's fault. Okay.
All right, guys. Time to start wrapping up. Again, my name is Ken. If you want to be part of my text community, 314-370-2871. You'll get weekly text messages from me, little video drop-ins, motivational stuff, tips and tricks, and things like that. It's a whole lot of fun. Go ahead and sign up. It's absolutely free. Whatever your text messaging service costs you, most of them are unlimited at this point.
Right.
If you have a question, you want to send me an email, Ken, Ken.Cox, C-O-X, @Hosterian, HOSTIRIAN.com. Brian, you want to give me your stuff?
Okay, and my name is Brian. You can text me at 314-216-2040. And then my email is Brian, BRIAN, .Montgomery, MONTGOMERY, @Hosterian, HOSTIRIAN.com. All right, so if you were looking forward to being a guest, definitely you can text or email myself or Ken. If you have topics that you want us to talk about, you can also reach out to either one of us. Or if you just really like what we're doing, right? You want to say, hey guys, hey, attaboy, right? We like attaboys. we deserve those too. But other than that, we will see you guys next time. Stay working hard, stay committed, and make it count, guys.
Get to work.
Let's get it.
Fade to black.